Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Tourism AI podcast. Thanks for joining us once again. And if you're brand new, welcome. We are Peter and Emily, and we're going to talk a little bit about the Tourism AI Network today, and then how your organization can get started with AI, kind of some of those first initial steps that you can take to really set yourself up for success. So, Peter, can you just give us a really high level of what the network is and kind of why people should be interested?
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Emily. So the Tourism AI Network was created, for those who don't know, by CIPR Communications, which is the company that we're all part of and we love. And it really was, I guess, founded out of our love for tourism, which is our primary industry that CIPR works in, and our newfound love for AI, which we've been diving in and digging in on for the last while now. So bringing together the two passions that we have at CIPR Communications, tourism and AI, put it together and we have the Tourism AI Network. So that's who we are and what we do. Really, the Tourism AI Network is here to empower the tourism industry in terms of starting to figure out how to use AI and enabling AI in their workplaces. So it's an organization that's really made specifically for DMOs and people who work in DMOs that are interested in artificial intelligence technology and how it can help the DMO, as well as tourism operators. So obviously, anything from a hotel operator to a sport fishing company to a tour bus, you name it, any company that's working in tourism, this is the network for you.
Nice. And I know you've kind of spoken about this in the past, but that aim really is to be that community focused as well.
Yeah.
So that we're bringing folks together from all over and really group building that knowledge, if you will.
Yeah, so our vision, if I may, just quickly, is to be the sort of an authority on AI in the tourism industry and to build a global community of AI first tourism professionals. So you're a tourism professional and AI is something you're interested in. You may not be AI first yet, but the goal and hope is that you will be after some time with us.
Right on. So why don't we dive in then on how people can get started? I think, there are probably what are the 5 key steps that people can kind of start off with, Peter? Why don't we start there?
Perfect. Yeah. So yeah, there are sort of I like to group things into nice numbers that make sense. So I have my 5 kind of key things that every organization should be doing in 2024 to start adopting AI into their workplace, which by the way, I encourage every organization to at least have a conversation about adopting AI in the workplace. What that looks like is up to you. But really step 1 is creating a bit of an opinion or a belief system around AI. So really, it's interesting because there's more and more surveys that are coming out about, people, employees, workers using AI in their jobs and their employers not having any kind of policies in place, not having any kind of rules in place, who can use what are the use cases, those types of things. So employees are taking the lead, they're taking the charge. It's sort of a groundswell of activity that's happening, but employers really need to start creating opinions and policies and principles documents, responsible AI use principles, those types of things. So step 1 is really establishing a belief system and an opinion as an organization. I think it's really, really important before something bad happens. And there are stories out there of those something bad's happening, and you don't want to be the company behind one of those stories. So get ahead of it before your employees start making, mistakes that they just didn't know because nobody told them about. So that's step 1. Step
Yeah.
2. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I think it's really important to have those policies in place and just being really clear about what you shouldn't do. I know we love to believe that common sense is all over the place, and I'm sure it typically is, but then you've got lawyers in New York trying to use ChatGPT for their legal cases, and then the entire case gets thrown out because ChatGPT starts making up fake resource cases. So
Right.
just be mindful that these tools are wonderful and they're great, but they're not perfect yet. So establishing that
Exactly.
that set of policies is a good place to start and at least have a conversation with your team as well.
That's right. Yeah. And certainly the Tourism AI Network can help you have those conversations and can help facilitate and help you come up with some policy documents. So one of the roles we play certainly is to help companies start that conversation in an intelligent way, in a way that's not intimidating, because, the other thing is different people in your organization are going to have different thoughts and feelings about this whole AI thing. So there's a way to have a conversation that isn't making people feel threatened. So I think it's really important to think that through. Number two is get some education and training about AI. So, okay, you've established some thoughts about what your organization thinks about AI, but you don't really know that much about it. So, I think obviously as a communicator and as a communications agency, I really love talking about my favorite language is having a common level of understanding about whatever it is you're working on amongst all stakeholders. So, in the case of a company or a DMO or whatever it is, have a common level of understanding of what AI even is and what it is in the context of your organization and what it is in context of the jobs in your organization. And that really starts with some kind of like education and training. And certainly, I think the more you can have education and training together as a group with some discussion, those things could come together to help you create responsible AI use policies and all those types of things, right? So again, that's, selfishly, the Tourism AI Network is here to provide some education. That's a major pillar of what we do. So we're going to be obviously I can come in and do some education one-on-one with your organization. I've spoken now to several DMOs and their stakeholders, just giving presentations about AI for tourism. We're going to be doing workshops and seminars and those types of things. So certainly that is, I would say, probably the most important primary pillar of what the Tourism AI Network's all about. So if you need that education, we're here for you.
Right.
Number three, create an AI working group or committee of some kind in your organization. So, okay, you've had some conversations about it, you have some opinions about what it is for your organization, taken some training, you have some common level of understanding and knowledge about what it is. Time to bring some people together. Maybe some people that raised their hand and said, "Hey, I'm interested in this. Hey, I think that this could apply to my job. Hey, I'm willing to be a champion." Bring a few of those people together, preferably from different departments or different parts of your organization, so you can have the different perspectives and sort of they can all kind of collaborate together and think about how maybe you can start to advance this AI discussion in a way that starts to get beyond discussion and more in towards maybe some use cases, maybe some trials, maybe some problems that you want to solve as an organization, right? So there are a few different ways to go about this in terms of how to implement AI in your organization, but one of the best ways to do it really is just to start using the tools on a very limited basis and a very low risk basis, right? So again, I can help have that conversation with you. I can give you some inspiration. Hopefully our podcast will give you some inspiration on some use cases and some things you can try that are fairly low risk, but really is create this working group or this committee or this, whatever, depending on the size of your organization, and have more formal weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, whatever works for your organization meetings where you can kind of bring this AI discussion to the forefront on a fairly consistent basis. That'll just help to facilitate, I think, an organization-wide implementation that's going to make more sense for you.
Yeah, I agree. I think especially if you're a larger organization, something like AI, because we're still in those beginning phases, it can be a bit polarizing, even if your entire team is on board. So really having that committee or that working group can take that, oh, too many cooks in the kitchen scenario out of the equation and really allow you to have those fine-tuned conversations about what tools work. If policies need to be updated at any time, you can really have somebody who's dedicated to really thinking about those things.
Yeah, yeah. And on that note, Emily, actually, I'll just mention too that, that AI working committee or working group, whatever you want to call it, doesn't necessarily have to be hardcore focused on AI. It could be focused on just change management, right? I think there's no doubt in my mind that no matter what you think about this technology, it's going to change the way business is done. So change management is going to be super important. And, maybe the committee can kind of go through a change management process, which again, the Tourism AI Network could help you through to help think through how to actually usher in this change in a way that is going to make people feel comfortable, in a way that's going to make people feel heard, in a way that's not going to intimidate people and is going to actually bring people along so that it could be a positive change for your organization, not a painful one that I think it will be, unfortunately, for some organizations if they just kind of let this AI thing happen to them.
A great point.
Yeah. Number four, and I think this is a really important one, is do some kind of assessment of your company and of your team when it comes to artificial intelligence. And so, one of the things that we are going to be offering through the Tourism AI Network is something called artificial intelligence business analysis. So, and it's really a tool that's basically made for helping, kind of giving you a starting point or sort of a baseline for your organization with respect to AI. So, it's a series of interviews. It takes about 4 hours to go through the whole process in terms of just interview time. And it really starts off with your leadership and your strategic direction as an organization, and then it kind of gets into your customers, and it kind of gets into different departments like communication, accounting, finance, all those types of things, HR. And it's really structured in a way to ask all the right questions, to have a really thoughtful process to really help you think through kind of where you're at, kind of what you think some next steps are, some opportunities that you think you might be able to sort of leverage AI for, and have really good in data driven conversations in your organization. So sort of create a baseline. The AIBA report that comes out of our organization also will give you some recommendations, some starting points, and even some tools that you could try. And it'll kind of put the whole thing into a bit of a structured format for you to help you kind of think through it in a way that's not going to kind of get you stuck or get you in trouble or get you lost.
Yeah, I
That's
think
really
that sounds really helpful. The one thing that I will flag is it sounds like it's giving you a lot of information, which is great. But I worry that some people, while they may not be fearful, they may feel overwhelmed. Can you give any advice on how people might get the output from this assessment and how they can use that tool rather than getting overwhelmed, how they can kind of break down the information and where to go from there?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So a couple things on that, Emily, is one, we're reworking it a little bit. So we've been kind of building this thing out in partnership with WSI, which I should mention. This isn't just a Tourism AI Network or CIPR initiative. It's in partnership with our Global Digital Marketing AI sort of network, which is a founding partner of Tourism AI Network. And really there's a couple different pieces to that. So, you get a fairly long comprehensive report, but then there is also a shorter kind of 3,000 foot level sort of summary report, which and a presentation sort of high level. So I think it's really kind of understanding which stakeholders or which people in your organization need what. And again, that's something we can help with, right? So, and it's about, I don't think companies should rush this AI thing. I think that it needs to be a deliberate process over time. And so, it's starting with, hey, here's 5 high level points of what we heard from your organization when it comes to AI. And you know what? I've gone through this now a couple times with a couple different organizations, and it's like a lot of the conversation when it comes to AI and next steps is like take a step back and think about your data and think about how you're using data or whether you're using data. Do you have a CRM? Is your CM organized? Have you been through technological change before? What's your training protocols? Like, again, this is a change management process more than it is a sort of a shiny new object toy process, right? So I think to your point, Emily, it's like then we need to take it one step at a time, and we need to piece it out and sort of create a bit of a roadmap, which actually perfectly segments into number 5. So point number 5 for any organization wanting to sort of implement AI into their organization is build an AI roadmap. So exactly to what you're saying, Emily, it's sort of like we got to eat this elephant one bite at a time, right? And so everybody has really busy jobs, everybody has their day job. All of a sudden, there's this new thing coming on people that people feel different ways about. And so, again, that roadmap might be, hey, you know what? We need 6 months of good education here. Maybe it's,
Yeah.
hey, we need to spend 6 months as a committee just talking about this before we're ready to implement. Maybe it's, hey, you know what? We need to spend 6 months just figuring out how to clean up our data better and making better use of our data. Or you know what? We don't even use Google Analytics. Maybe we need to start with getting that going
Right.
so that we actually have data from which we can start to, gain insights for, right? So it's not like, you go through this process. It's not like tomorrow you're implementing AI solutions for your organization. It's like actually structuring it to understand where you're at as an organization from a data and technology perspective in general, and then where you really need to start in order to actually get to this place where AI is actually something that could work for your organization, because it's not necessarily something that every organization is ready for today.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that data piece is a big one that I think, most folks probably will have under their belt, but I think that's a good thing to note and be aware of that. I've heard a pretty significant amount is that your data needs to be cleaned and ready to go
Yes.
for that kind of thing. So just be
Yeah.
mindful of that as well. Take AI out of the equation for a second. You're probably going to want a clean data sheet anyway, just because that will
Right.
help you from an operational perspective, regardless of whether you're going to bring in all these tools or not. So
Yeah.
something to consider regardless, but highly encourage you to clean it for the use with AI.
Well, you're gonna have to, because it's sort of the old garbage in, garbage out. Well, it's
Yeah.
gonna work just the same with AI as it's gonna work with any other garbage, right? So got to have good, clean data in there.
Absolutely. Peter, is there anything else, maybe the secret hints for people who have, they're feeling good, they've got their head on their shoulders, their shoes on the right feet, maybe don't necessarily need these steps, but are still very much in the preliminary stages. We've kind of talked about that clean data. Is there anything else you would tell people who are just kind of getting ready here to dip their toes in the pond?
Yeah. I mean, I would just say that I think probably the number one skill of humans in this new AI era that we're in 2024 is continuous education. So I think start, join the Tourism AI network, join the community, start participating in the conversation, start coming to workshops, start learning, listen to other podcasts, right? I think we're in a really interesting inflection point in humanity where things are going to change really quickly and things are going to be very overwhelming. And so people need to just start kind of paying attention. And interestingly, I have this title up here of either, I don't know if it's an ebook or whatever that I'm planning to write, but right, this title that I wrote is called AI Scares You. That doesn't change shit. So I hear a lot from people that's like, oh, AI scares me. I don't want to have anything to do with it. You know what? It's here. So you know
Yeah.
what? I think it's incumbent upon all of us to actually start paying attention to it. Whether it scares you or not doesn't change the fact that it's here and that it's going to have a massive impact on your life. So that is my number one call to action for everybody is just start paying attention because, this is a big wave, technological wave coming, and it's either going to wash you up or you're going to go for the ride of your life. And so I know what I've chosen. I know what I've chosen for our organization, and I don't know where this wave is going to take me. And trust me, it scares me too in some ways. But at the end of the day, I can't control all of these outside factors and all this, what Sam Altman's going to do or what this technology is going to do or what Google's going to do. I can't control any of that, but I can control the fact that this technology is here and I can implement it at least on a practical level in my business to make my business more efficient. So, if I could give any advice to anybody, and I give this advice all the time, is sort of get over yourself, get over it, and start paying attention. And I'm sorry if that sounds crude, but this isn't going anywhere. So I think it's time to get on board.
Yeah, I think I can offer the perspective of someone who was formerly significantly more fearful of AI. I did also choose to kind of get on board just because that's kind of the way it shook out. And I mean, no complaints so far. All's well. What I will say is if you're not ready to jump in with both feet, at least keep your finger on the pulse so you know what's going on. Because to Peter's point, you could get washed away and it's better to know than be completely apathetic to it and not understand kind of where we're headed in terms of technology and tools and really what it can do for your business, right? Just
Yeah.
keep that in mind. And nobody's at
And I love what
everything right now and keep going that way forever. This is going to be a trial and error for everybody. So
Yeah. And I love what you just said there, Emily, about keep your finger on the pulse. And my sort of comment to that is, look, you can just watch the 6 o'clock news and think you're keeping your finger on the pulse, but that's just going to keep your finger on the scared button. So, listen to people who are actually implementing this stuff,
yeah.
people that are sort of taking a very practical approach to this, because that is the pulse you need to be paying attention to, because the news isn't here to teach us anything, right? So, sort of be thoughtful and mindful of where you're getting your information. And if it, again, we're here to help. We're not here to scare anybody. We're here to be very practical. We're here to provide very practical information. And there are others, the Marketing AI Institute, for example, is a great organization, very thoughtful, provide a lot of really great content. The Daily AI show that I listen to on in a podcast, fantastic, right? So there are many good people doing really good things, practical, that could just help get your wheels turning in a way that's helpful, as opposed to sort of this fear-based world that we're living in that quite frankly is not helpful to anybody. So that's my biases on the news today.
I mean, we probably do a whole other episode on that entire topic. But if you are feeling a little bit hesitant, I think to try any of these huge tools, start with the easy ones, start with ChatGPT, give Pi a go, which is similar to ChatGPT, but it's got a little bit more of a friendly conversational interface. So try that out too. But just get your feet a little wet. And if you decide that it's not for you, Godspeed, my friend, but give it a try and just see how it goes.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, as of this very moment, there are lots of ways you can join the network. You can follow us on social media. We're just Tourism AI Network on pretty much every single one, I believe. You can head to our website and sign up there, sign up for our newsletter to get updates and that sort of thing. So lots of ways to engage. Hoping you'll stick around and subscribe to our podcast. We're available on all areas where podcasts are available, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. I think that's my little selfish plug
Advertisement.
there. Yeah. How about you, Peter? You got anything that I've forgotten?
No, I think you covered it all. But yeah, I guess the one thing I didn't cover is, joining the network doesn't cost any money. So you can just go on our website, tourismainetwork.com, and just join the network. You'll just be part of our mailing list and you'll, get information on upcoming webinars, any speaking engagements we're doing, some tips and tricks. We'll be providing transcripts, well, not transcripts, but sort of blogs from these podcasts. So when we speak to people way smarter than me on things related to AI and tourism, we'll be sort of providing that information to people as well in written form. So yeah, so just join the network. It doesn't cost you any money. And at a minimum, it'll just kind of keep you informed in a way that's sort of relevant to you and your business and your industry today.
Right on. Okay, well, hopefully we will catch you again listening to our podcast. But until then, thanks for listening and chat soon. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Tourism AI podcast. To learn more about the network or get involved, visit our website at tourismainetwork.com or find us on socials at Tourism AI Network. We'll see you there.